Hello and welcome to Historical Airsoft. Today we have another makeover video. This one's not going to be split into two parts like the last one. I think that we can condense all of the content down into a much smaller area this time. Alright, so this is the Sturmgewehr 44, or the STG-44, or sometimes you hear it as the MP-44, for Maschinenpistole 44. This rifle belongs to Unteroffizier Janisch, who's joined us recently. He'll be doing his own full review on this rifle in the future. So first thing to notice is this is well worn. Unlike the MP40 we did earlier, this thing has been used a ton and it is quite worn already. But we do also still want to try to create a sense of it looking more like an original one would. We're using a lot of the same techniques and ideas that we implemented on the MP40 video. We're going to be doing a lot of sanding and painting as well as some other things as well. At one point, the stock of this rifle fell off, and right now the only thing holding it in place is some black electrical tape. So I thought I'd take some twine and use that to cover up the electrical tape with something that looks a little bit more period. We have a few more paints than we have last time. We have the flat black, GI brown, flat gray, flat tan, and silver. We're going to start at the front of the gun and then work our way back from there. We're going to start by just painting the orange tipped black and then do a little bit of silver to complement it. That looks pretty good, so let's move on down the rifle to some other places that need to be painted right off the bat. Right now I'm going in and painting the grips brown like they would on the real one. Unfortunately there's no way to replace these with any original grips or other reproduction grips. I'll give you an update once I'm done with this. I've now gone through and painted the grips on both sides of the pistol grip on this rifle. The paint is still wet. I had it propped up vertically like this, so it'll take a little while to dry, so it'll lose that shiny look that it has right now. I've now gone through and went over the GI brown with a little bit of flat tan, but then scrubbed most of it out, just leaving enough to get rid of that one-dimensional color of the GI brown on there, making it look a little bit more natural. I do have to clean up around the edges now, which is no problem at all. That's why we have the black paint. It doesn't quite match the look on the stock, but that's okay. One of the distinguishing features of a real-life STG is that all the parts were made at different factories all across the Reich, and all shipped to one plant for final assembly, and therefore many minor variations in how things looked came about because of it. Right now I'm in the process of sanding down the handguard over the barrel. So on the real STG-44s, the spot was known to get notoriously hot. It's just stamped steel that was pressed right up against the outside of the barrel. So as you can imagine, the thing did get hot very quick, especially with sustained full automatic fire. So I might do something else to this as well. I'm going to experiment around a little bit, and I might just leave it sanded out. Alright, so I've gone through and done a lot of surface sanding. I've still got some more that needs to be done. I just thought I'd come through and show you what I've done so far. Just a little bit of an update. It's not all too much different from what we did on the MP40, except that not only are we focusing on stuff that sticks out, we're also trying to get in other areas. Because the paint job that this thing came in is not very great, not very historically accurate. I've started to sand in between a lot of these sections right here to create the impression that, of course, the paint has been worn down quite a bit. I'll put a picture up on the screen of some STGs that have gone through combat and were used heavily. Now, you can see that they never maintain very much of their original paint job. With this, I do not intend on removing all of the paint. I just intend on removing enough where it doesn't have that same shine. Like, you can see the difference between this section and these in here. And if we move on to the other side, the difference is pretty extreme than the same spot on the other side. So we're going to continue to do that across the rifle. The next thing that I've just experimented with is taking a lighter and burning the handguard. I mentioned earlier that the handguards on these things would get very, very hot, and we're trying to replicate this in an airsoft one. Also in the pictures you have seen on screen, the handguards are very worn and burnt. So, so far everything's looking pretty damn good in my opinion. Alright, so here I am, burning the surface of the handguard, and it's really not a complicated process. It's kind of just what you'd think. I'm by a window right now to avoid any, I don't want to breathe in some, spent lighter fumes and maybe cause the fire alarm in my house to go off, but it's kind of just what you would imagine. It's, if I can get the flame to keep going, it's sort of just slowly moving the lighter up and down the handguard, and it will create that super cool burn effect. It's kind of a slow, tedious process, but you can sort of grasp the idea. Alright, so I am very satisfied with the way that turned out. Oh, look at that in the light. Okay, that little experiment went way better than I thought it would. I will definitely be doing that again on other guns with similar features to this one in the future. I've just now gone in and covered up that electrical tape with some twine. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm going to take a lighter to it to get rid of a lot of the extra threads poking out. That was a very bad idea. That caught on fire very quickly. I know I had to be careful, but didn't know that it would be it would burn that quick. Luckily, I stopped it. Using a rag and some elbow grease, I was able to remove all of the excess material on the burn marks, just leaving a very, a much less extreme version of what there was before. I've also gone ahead and sanded this whole area down, sanded in between a lot of the parts that stick out to try to get rid of that very dark black that we can still see on the barrel here, which I will do more to in the future. I've gone ahead, of course, and put the stock back on. The pin we do not have right now, but that's no problem. Flipping it over. The sling does get in the way a little bit, but again, handguard. Everything's turning out to look pretty nice. Alright, so we've now gone through, done any other sanding or painting that needed to be done. I started to sand this area right here, but it ended up being too rough on it and was leaving more scratches than just sanding. So I went ahead and painted over that with flat black. The magazine, I went ahead and sanded both sides, weathered it down quite a bit. Looks pretty good. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Historical Airsoft. Feel free to like and subscribe. We've got lots of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Alright, you all have a nice day.